What's going to be the future of the Iran-Israel war? Check out this clip over here with the former Crown Prince of Iran, the Shah's son, talking over here to Fox News about what he thinks the future is going to bring, what he's hoping for, and what others in the region are hoping for. So we'll watch this clip together and then talk about it. But first, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Check this out.
And we begin this Sunday morning on day 3 of Israel's war with Iran, and Iranian retaliation fired overnight. 10 Israeli civilians killed last night as Iran targeted neighborhoods, and Israel continues its massacre on military infrastructure in Iran and Iran's ability to make a nuclear bomb. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the operation to remove the Iranian threat to Israel will last, quote, as many days as it takes. Earlier, an Israeli official saying Israel had planned a 2-week operation to destroy Iran's nuclear capabilities. The Israeli attack beginning before dawn on Friday, when Israel launched waves of strikes against Iran's nuclear facilities and its leadership, taking out the head of Iran's Revolutionary Guard and 3 other major generals, along with 9+ scientists working on Iran's primary nuclear sites throughout the country. Israel saying 3 out of 4 of Iran's nuclear facilities have been diminished or destroyed, as Israel struck so far 250 targets and 720 components. A major nuclear facility still exists in Iran underground with enriched uranium. Iran is firing back and has picked up the retaliation overnight and the weekend, first sending 200 missiles into Israel, killing 3 people on Saturday and then another 10 last night. The Israeli defense minister said yesterday Tehran will burn if it continues to fire missiles at Israel. Here's Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday.
We paved the way to Tehran, and our pilots over the skies of Tehran will deal blows to the Ayatollah regime that they cannot even imagine. And I can tell you this, we have indications that senior leaders in Iran are already packing their bags. They sense what's coming. I'll tell you what would have come if we hadn't acted. We had information that this unscrupulous regime was planning to give the nuclear weapons that they would develop to their terrorist proxies. That's nuclear terrorism on steroids. That would threaten the entire world.
President Trump has been warning Iran to make a deal on its nuclear ambitions and reiterating that Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb now for several months. Back on April 12th, the president gave Iran a 60-day ultimatum to make a deal. Israel attacked Iran on day 61, which was this past Friday. And as far back as March of this year, with President Trump in office for the second time just a month and a half, the president told me directly he sent a letter to the Ayatollah Khomeini trying to achieve a peaceful outcome.
The people of Iran are great people, but they had a tough regime, and they'd meet and they'd be shot in the streets. I mean, it was a tough deal. But I would rather negotiate a deal. I'm not sure that everybody agrees with me, but we can make a deal that would be just as good as if you won militarily. But the time is happening now. The time is coming up. Something's going to happen one way or the other. I hope that Iran, and I've written them a letter saying, I hope you're going to negotiate, because if we have to go in militarily, it's going to be a terrible thing for them.
You wrote a letter to the Khomeini?
Yes.
The leader? When did you send the letter?
Yesterday.
And you said you better negotiate, or we want you to negotiate?
I didn't say you better. I said, I hope you're going to negotiate, because it's going to be a lot better for Iran. And I think they want to get that letter. The other alternative is we have to do something, because you can't let them have a nuclear weapon.
That was on March 9th. Joining me now from an undisclosed location is the exiled Crown Prince of Iran, His Royal Highness Reza Pahlavi. Your Highness, thank you so much for being here today. What is your reaction to this conflict?
The first thing I need to say here is that my heart goes out to the victims, civilian victims, both in Iran and in Israel, who are unfortunately casualties of this conflict. But one thing is very clear, and I mentioned that last time we spoke, that this is not the Iranian people's war. It is Ali Khamenei's war, and he's solely and ultimately responsible for having brought this to this stage. What angers me further is that he's using my compatriots as a human shield while he is currently hiding in some underground tunnel like a rat. And we have had reports that senior members and officials have already had their families fleeing the country to foreign destinations, perhaps even including some of his own.
You heard Benjamin Netanyahu say that there are leaders that are packing their bags and leaving. Do you believe that this Iranian regime can be toppled?
Absolutely. It's just a matter of time. I believe that for 44 years. It's not a matter of if, but a matter of when. But now we have a tremendous opportunity. Last time we spoke, I mentioned that the regime is at its weakest. As of last 3 days, the regime is 10 times weaker than it was 2 weeks ago. So at this stage, I think the Iranian people obviously realize that the playing field has been more equalized for them to give them finally an opportunity to rise and get rid of this regime. Because we always believe that the ultimate solution to the problem is for this regime to no longer be there. Not at the hand of foreign troops or countries, but at the hand of the Iranian people themselves. The Iranian people are the boots on the ground that we need. What they need, however, is solidarity from the free world to once and for all get rid of the problem, help Iranians overcome this regime, and put an end to all the threats that this regime has been the root cause of for decades now in the region and beyond.
Do you think the rest of the world, the free world, will heed that call and come to the aid of the Iranian people? What would you like to see?
What I like to see is for the world to know that the only way you can have less stress for the economic stability of the world, have less casualties of innocent victims here and there, have an end to all these threats, including the nuclear threat, is to eliminate this regime. The sooner they come to this conclusion, the sooner we'll be rid of the problem and we can all breathe a sigh of relief. The Iranian people are willing to do their part. In fact, they've done this so many times with no help whatsoever, but they're willing to risk life and limb in order to finally overcome. Last night, people on the streets were angry, chanting death to the dictator yet again. They know who the enemy is. The regime has been giving them slogans of death to America and death to Israel for the past 4 decades. And Iranians have been responding, they lie to us when they say it's America. Our enemy is right here, meaning the regime. And fortunately, I see that more and more people, public opinion, media, and foreign governments are finally making a clear distinction between the people of Iran and the regime. And that's key. That tells you right there that the solution is in front of your eyes. The Iranian people are your solution, not negotiating with a regime that cannot be trusted. Case in point, the latest report of the IAEA. They are not to be trusted. And I've said that so many times already.
And you've said also that the Iranian leadership is at its weakest. How would you assess, based on your own knowledge of this, how would you assess the nuclear capabilities today?
Well, it certainly has been tremendously set back. But the whole point here is that how much more time do you want the regime to catch a second breath and come back online? How many times are we going to yet again throw them a lifeline? How many times are we going to allow them, as they were going down in their ability to spend money on their proxies or for repression machineries at home, to get access to more funding that they shouldn't have had? I think this is the perfect time. The G7 are meeting right now in Canada. Why not prescribe the IRGC, which is the element that has been the root cause of repression at home and terrorism abroad, as part of the kind of pressure that the world can bring? And at the same time have the parallel track, you and I have spoken about this many times already, a parallel process of maximum support. Some people have already been talking about internet interruptions in Iran that the regime has always tried to use as a tactic to make people have more difficulties communicating. Starlink and Elon Musk are trying to do their part. We need much more of that. This is how, in fact, they can help the Iranian people have a better chance to succeed, and their success will be in your own interest at the end of the day.
Your Highness, Iran is apparently reaching out to several countries right now, trying to get a message to Israel to stop and put in some kind of a ceasefire. According to Israeli officials, Iranian leaders are sending messages to Israel through Italy, Azerbaijan, Cyprus. They may be using Qatar and Oman to relay signals to the United States. What is your message to those countries?
I think, again, if the fundamental argument is that the source and the root cause of all the problems and all the threats is directly linked to the survivability or the continued survival of this regime this far. The quickest way to eliminate all these problems is to put an end to this regime. If out of desperation they're begging for yet again another life insurance, I think they had plenty of opportunity to come clean, and they haven't. And the minute they get a chance, they will go back to their old tricks. They're only trying to buy time. This is a pattern that has been many times observed by this regime. Every time their back is to the wall, they try to come across as, okay, now we are willing to consider it. But the minute they get a chance, they go back to their old ways, which is why I'm saying it is not a reliable formula. You will always be in anxiety of how far can we rely on this, how far the negotiation could succeed if they were to resume. And at the end of the day, you still have the same problem in place, because let's say, for the sake of argument, and we talked about this before already, let's say there is a deal on the nuclear issue. What about terrorism? What about funding of the proxies? What about radicalization? What about all the other aspects that this regime has been involved with? What about their funding of radical groups in Europe and in the United States on university campuses, fomenting all this kind of anti-Semitic rhetoric and whatever we have seen? This is Ali Khamenei's regime yet again. The Iranian people, on the other hand, want to have cordial relationship with our neighbors, whether it's the Israelis or the Saudis or the rest of the Persian Gulf in our neighborhood, because unlike this regime that survive on warmongering and celebrate martyrdom, we want to celebrate peace and brotherhood and life. And that's the difference. Invest on the Iranian people. After 46 years of trying the other way around, give the Iranian people this time a chance to put an end to all the problems. To free themselves, which is my mission in life, to it, but we need the world to understand that which side of history will they be standing on this time.
Your Highness.
The ideal situation is that Israel weakens Iran to such a degree that the people are able to simply rise up and topple the regime completely. Eradicating the nuclear threat is a big step. That's something that is certainly necessary and something that the entire free world benefits from. But as the Crown Prince has stated very clearly and very correctly, the only way to really make sure that other issues and all of the tentacles that Iran has when it comes to terror and funding terror, again, they are the #1 state sponsor of terrorism. They funded Hamas, they funded Hezbollah, they funded the Houthis, all sorts of terror organizations. The only way to stop all of that is by a regime toppling. That doesn't mean that America needs to throw in boots on the ground, get involved in any sort of way like in Iraq. Okay, I know that's the fear that a lot of people have. I share the same fear. Don't want that. At the same time, if Israel can destabilize Iran and weaken the regime enough that the people can rise up and eradicate the leadership that currently has held them enslaved for the last 45 years, that would be the ideal situation. Not only for them living in Iran, who are clamoring for or want this so badly, but it would be good for Israel. It'd be good for other nations in the Arab world that are silently cheering on Israel. It would be good for all the Western countries. It would be good for the United States. It would be good for all people that believe in freedom. And so, God willing, we will soon see the day where this happens. It's already underway. And I have a feeling that the Iranian regime's days are very much numbered. So let's keep praying for that, and that this whole situation ends in a quick and seamless way and completely reshapes that region to a way that can be aligned in peace and prosperity for everybody involved. If you like this content overall, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Take care.